Hi, I'm Levi Glenn, a viticulturist at Tablas Creek Vineyard here in Paso Robles, California, and I am a California farmer. We're owned um, in partnership by a well-known wine importer and a French family that's been making wine for centuries. So we have kind of a world view of wine. We definitely make wines that are has a slight French bent, but also is uniquely Californian. Well, I started working in vineyards when I was about 13, so yeah, more than half my life, that's for sure. Worked in some wineries and then decided to go to Cal Poly for viticulture enology degree. No, I get here, depending on what time of year, between 5:30 and 7, and check in with the guys, make sure we're doing what we need to be doing out in the field. I have to go in and deal with paperwork stuff for a little bit, and usually come back out and take a look. Every week I want to be able to look at every single block in our vineyard, and we have about 60 unique blocks within the property. So I usually spend 2 or 3 hours a day just looking at individual blocks and kind of seeing how they're progressing. Usually the growing season starts in April, end of March through the middle of April, and the vine starts growing, and in about the middle of May you start to see the clusters forming. By June you start to see the berries forming that goes through what we call bloom, where the flowers are actually fertilized, and you can start seeing tiny little berries, and through July you start to see the vines progressing and then change color from green to whatever color they're going to be, whether it's a white grape or a red grape. And then into August you start to see the sugars increasing, and then hopefully by mid-September we're actually picking those grapes. I think the hardest part is every year is different, and that's kind of what makes it interesting. If every year was the same weather and the same exact thing, then it would get boring after a couple years. Frost tends to be a huge problem for us, but we're getting smarter and planting varieties that push later in the lower spots where we tend to have more frost. But Tablas Creek was one of the first producers to come in here and plant Rhone varieties, and it kind of sparked a change in the idea of what could be grown in this area. So when we first started, we actually brought our own cuttings in from Chateau de Beaucastel, and then we distributed those cuttings throughout California and grafted vines throughout California. So the cuttings that came from one, single vineyard on our property and the Perrin family's property in Chateau de Beaucastel created all these varieties throughout California. So a lot of that can be sourced right back to this property itself. It's a fun industry to work in, probably more fun than others. Um, and there's a lot of camaraderie between producers and people in the industry. I mean, most of the wine that's made in California is consumed in California. So there's a huge consumption. Per capita consumption is much higher in California than other places. So I mean, it makes sense. There's kind of a culture of wine and good food that you don't see in some other states. In the end, it's about the wine and the wine quality, and I care about that more probably than anything else.